What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Appreciate you guys tuning in for another video. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. You know, we're really trying to grow this channel, and really the goal of this channel is to help you guys, the viewers, the subscribers, to help you guys catch more bass. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, and really appreciate everybody always hitting the subscribe, commenting, liking, all that. We see all that, and we definitely appreciate all of that from you guys. But today we're basically doing a video that was recommended on one of my previous videos. So that leads me into another ask of you guys is make sure you're always commenting if you have any video ideas for me to do. If it's something similar to a video we already have, or if it's just a total off the wall, any sort of idea or anything you guys want to learn, we're always looking for good video ideas. So make sure you're always leaving those in the comments. But somebody had asked me for my best baits for catching bass while they're spawning. So we're gonna dive in and kind of go through my progression of baits that I'm gonna fish for those bass that are spawning. They're on the bed. And some of these are for actually visually sight fishing them, and some of them are for more fishing for those fish that are maybe a little bit deeper that you can't quite see, but you know that they're spawning, whether it's around a piece of cover, a stump, or something like that. So we're just gonna kind of go through my progression, and hopefully you guys can learn something from this. All right, so number one choice, really the entire spring for me and for really a lot of fishermen, is just gonna be the simple Senko. So just a 5-inch Senko. You know, when we're around the spawn, I really like to go with more bluegill imitating colors because they're gonna be protecting that bed from a bluegill that's trying to get in there and eat the eggs. So this is a kind of a laminate color. It's watermelon, black, red, with a light watermelon, red, black flecks. So it's kind of just a two-tone. It is the 955 color code if you guys are interested in checking them out at fishusa.com. But anyway, that's one of my first choices if the water's a little bit cleaner. And then if the water's a little bit dirtier, you know, I'll go with a little bit darker color, but it's still trying to imitate those bluegill. And this is one of my favorite colors. It's called mowed grass. And it's just like a dark watermelon, green pumpkin-ish color with some purple and blue fleck in there. And man, it imitates a bluegill perfectly with that color right there. But so those two right there are probably my number one choice anytime in the spring. You know, if the bass are, you're not necessarily looking at them on bed, but you're just kind of fishing shallow for those fish that may be getting ready to spawn, currently spawning, post-spawn fish. I mean, a 5-inch Senko, you just take a finesse hook. So this is the Trocar TK137, and you literally just wacky rig this bait right through the middle, just like that. And I mean, you skip him around every piece of cover that's shallow, and you're gonna catch those fish that are actively spawning that you can't quite visibly see. And you know, all those fish that are just generally up there shallow. Now, going with the Senko, so whenever you know, if we got extremely clear water or you're actually up there visibly sight fishing, looking at the bedding fish, I still like a Senko, but I like to drop down to the 4-inch size. So whenever I'm, you know, actively throwing at a bed and watching that fish's movements and watching him react to my bait, I like a little bit smaller Senko. So that's when I go to the 4-inch Senko. You know, I'm still gonna rig it on this same hook with the Trocar TK137, just wacky rig, but it gives it a much smaller presentation. So if that fish is coming down and just nipping at it, trying to pick it up off of the bed, you got a lot less plastic than the 5-inch version. That's when I drop down to the 4-inch size. So there we go there with, that's my number one choice, the Senko. Obviously all year long, you can't beat the Senko, but definitely around the spawn, the 5-inch and the 4-inch Senko is an excellent choice. So my second choice, let's slide over the box of goodness here. And this is more specifically when I'm actively looking at a fish that's on a bed. He's sitting down there, he's protecting that nest. I'm gonna pick up a little shaky head. This is the Epic Baits shaky head right here. And you know, typically when you think of a shaky head, you think of putting a worm style bait, you know, a finesse worm, a trick worm, a Yamamoto sensei worm, something like that. But instead, I'm gonna put a tube. So this is just like a 3.5 inch tube, and I'm just gonna rig him up right on the shaky head, just like you would you know, your finesse worm. Get him up over the keeper. And then we're just gonna kind of Texas rig him back here. But this does a couple things. One, you know, it gives a different, smaller profile than say a worm. So again, we want those smaller profiles for when those fish come and try and pick this bait up to move it off their nest, that they get the whole bait and get that hook inside their mouth. Second, I really like these tails on the back of a tube for bed fishing. When you're actively looking at this fish, you can sit there and shake that rod and those tails are gonna dance, and it will trigger some of those fish that may be a little skittish and not quite wanting to commit. And then the last thing that I really like about a tube, and this is kind of a secret, this is a sneaky move right here, I'm gonna drop some juice. You can actually fill the inside of this tube with some scent. So you can put some, you know, whatever kind of scent you like to use. I generally like to lean towards a garlic oil, garlic gel, something like that. But I'm gonna squirt that inside of this tube and fill him up with scent. So whenever that fish is nose down looking at this bait, he's gonna smell or taste that scent, and he's gonna be more apt to pick that bait up and then hold on to it longer to allow you to hook him. So that's why I really like going with a tube whenever I'm actively sight fishing. You know, this is more of a natural looking color. There's times where, you know, if you're looking to see your bait, I'll go with like a chartreuse color. But generally speaking, I like the natural bluegill looking colors, or, you know, even that kind of a two-tone color, but it really imitates those bluegill really well. Now I believe all these tubes are actually just Bass Pro Shops tender tubes. And they're an excellent choice for this because they're a thin bodied tube. They're like a single dip, so they're not real wide and real thick, a lot of plastic there. So that's why I really like them for the shaky head right there. But man, that was some juice. I can't believe I'm giving that up on you guys, but hey, the tube is an excellent choice for catching fish off the bed. All right, next up, this is gonna be a little more common. You know, you see a lot of this, you know, a lot of guys fishing this, and this is, you know, one of the most efficient ways to catch them off the bed. You're gonna be using big line. You know, you're gonna just rig up your standard flipping rig, Texas rig. Like we got a 3/8 ounce Epic tungsten weight here, Trokar TK130 flipping hook, and you're just gonna put on a little crawfish style bait. So this is the Yamamoto Yamacraw. So if you wanna visibly sight fish and use the white color, so when you see that bait disappear, you know when to set the hook. Or if you want to go with the more natural colors, imitate those bluegill like I was saying, you got plenty of options here. But the cool thing about the Yamamoto Yamacraw is this is made of floating plastic. So whenever you rig him up on your flipping rig, like right here, and he falls down into that bed, he is going to be floating. Those claws are going to be floating up, and every little shake of the rod tip. Okay, so let's say he comes down on the bottom here. These claws are going to float up like this, and you start shaking, and you can see how he's dancing around. And that's really going to trigger those fish to come bite and pick it up. And then, like I said, you got it on a big hook, big line, and you can really jack them and give them the business, as I like to say. So this is the 3-inch version. Like I said, if you're noticing a trend here, I really like those small compact baits for whenever I'm bed fishing, sight fishing, just because you want that fish to make sure he gets that whole bait in his mouth so you can set the hook on him. All right, last up. This is for when they get a little tricky. You know, sometimes you can, you get a couple of those fish that are a little tricky to catch. They kind of want to be finessed, and that's when I pull out the good old drop shot. So this is the Yamamoto shad-shaped worm. I mean, you guys have seen me use that and win a bunch of money on that bait over the years. But this is the green pumpkin color. And if you're noticing the trend here, I really like those natural colors when the fish are spawning rather than a big bright white color, because generally speaking, a bass is going to bite that natural color before he would bite the bright color. So, you know, rigging up a drop shot's super simple. This is just the Trocar TK150 drop shot hook. And I just like to nose hook this bait right through the nose like that. And then when you rig him up, so the key, number one key on a drop shot setup for a bedfish is you want a real short leader between your hook and your weight. So generally I'm talking, I would say 4 to 6 inches is what I want between my hook and my weight. So you want that bait pretty close to the bottom. You don't want a super long leader when you're bed fishing, because that fish is protecting the bottom, you know, down where the eggs are. So you want this drop shot to be as close to those eggs as possible. But the drop shot will pick up a lot of those finicky fish that, you know, have been messed with before, or just are being a little fickle and won't pick up any of these other baits. But appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully you learned something. You know, I promise you, you can catch 99% of the bedfish out there on these 4 baits right here. So check them out. All of them are available over at fishusa.com. You can pick up all this stuff over there. Appreciate all you guys watching. Leave me those likes and comments down below. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys next time.